You're free to go.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you weren't being detained or anything. It's consensual. But before you do go, do you have anything on you you shouldn't have? Anything in the car that shouldn't be in there?
Yeah.
Would you mind if I took a look real quick? Anything in particular
nothing.
you're worried about me seeing? Today we are out here in Deland, Florida, visiting the police department and city hall for a few reasons. One of those reasons being there's been a lot going on at the Orange City Police Department, and that's gotten a lot of attention. But we don't want Deland to think that we forgot about them, as they've got plenty of shenanigans going on for themselves, as you remember. And as we're here today, we're going to run into Captain Juan Millan. If you remember, he won't admit it, but he's the one that trespassed me from the Deland Police Department, based on his own feelings. But look at this, we're going in anyway. Trespass or not, here we are. Nah, just kidding, this is old footage, I got to stay outside. But we will run into him in a minute. Also, a few months back, Foshin with This Is a Public Service, he was actually pulled over by the Deland Police Department. They had no probable cause, no traffic violations, literally was just driving. But he was pulled over just because they just wanted to ask him if he's okay. They had no reason to want to ask him that, but they wanted to ask him that. He filed a complaint, they did nothing. They said, hey, just deal with it. Make sure you check out his channel for more on that. But we're also going to see that doing what we do sometimes pays off. The city of Deland won't admit it or thank us, but we did teach them a lesson. Recently, my own personal information was released by the city of Deland within public records. As you know, I'm former law enforcement, now reformed, and the personal information of former, current, or retired law enforcement in Florida is exempt under Florida statute. My status is no secret. This city knows it, but they did it anyway. And roughly 3 weeks prior to this day, I had a conversation with the deputy city clerk, Julia Hewitt, who very clearly didn't understand statutes as it pertains to public records, and that's a problem because her job is public records. But we'll see today that they learned something, and they made changes as a result. So I'll shut up, let's get on with it. What's up, Millan?
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Doing all right?
How about you, Millan?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
All right. Hey, as your direct supervisor, I'm talking Millan.
Okay.
As your direct supervisor, I'm going to ask you to come talk to me.
Who's my direct supervisor?
No, I said as your direct supervisor, I'm going to ask you to come talk to me.
That's funny.
No, I'm going to write you up for insubordination. Millan, I'm not joking.
Take care, man.
I'm going to write him up, man.
Yeah, man, get him.
I got to do what I got to do. Hey, is your seatbelt on? Your seatbelt on? Get your seatbelt. Hey, your seatbelt. Your license, registration, fleeing and eluding now. I'm going to write you up in subordination and fleeing and eluding now.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Good. How can I help you?
All right. You okay?
I'm okay.
This is just a well-being check, man. What's your name?
My name is Josh.
Josh? That's your last name?
That's my first name.
What's your last name?
Santos.
Have I met you?
I don't know. Been here 15 years, so.
15 years. How have I not met you?
Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
Well, yeah, maybe. That means you haven't got my attention for whatever reason.
you go.
I just want to make sure you're okay.
I'm fine. Are you okay?
I'm good. That's a typical thing, though. You know, I just like to look in on our public servants, make sure they're doing all right.
I appreciate you.
You need anything?
I don't need. I need to get out of this rain.
Well, I need to get out of
okay?
this rain pretty soon. I got to go to City Hall. So I'm not trespassed from there yet.
I got you. Not a tyrant though.
No. See, you know what? I'm glad you're not offended by this shirt. There are some members of administration that have been offended by this shirt right off the bat upon seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
That should tell you something. If you are offended by this shirt, why do you think I'm talking to you? Why do you think this shirt is talking to you?
Yep.
You didn't see this shirt and think it's directed at you. That's telling, right?
Yeah.
There's a difference. But yeah, I just want to make sure everything's good. You're okay?
I'm good, my friend.
Yeah, you're free to go.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, you weren't being detained or anything. It's
All right.
consensual. But before you do go, you have anything on
I
you?
did give you my name though, at least.
You did give me your name, and I appreciate that. But before you go, like I said, you're free to go. You can go anytime. I'm not going to hold you up.
That's fine.
Do you have anything on you you shouldn't have? Anything in the car that shouldn't be in there?
That I should have or shouldn't
Should
have?
not have. Anything in there
have?
shouldn't be in there?
A couple extra pounds on my stomach.
What about in the car? Pounds, we're not worried about
Nothing in
pounds.
the car. I mean, everything's pretty good.
Everything's
I
legal?
got permits for everything, yeah.
Would you mind if I took a look real quick?
That my permits?
No, just search your
At
car
my
real
stuff?
quick.
No, that's not going to happen.
No?
No.
I mean, if you got nothing to hide.
I don't have nothing to hide now.
No, so, I mean, what's the problem? You got nothing to hide.
Yeah,
They shouldn't have a problem with it.
I don't know where you're going with that, but no, I'm good, buddy.
No, I mean, you know, there's nothing. I just want to look real quick. I won't tear it apart. I won't make a mess.
Yeah, no, that's not happening.
No? Have you ever?
You can come in one day and I can show you my car if you want to do that.
Wow,
I'll
I
do
mean,
like a
that would kind of give you the heads up. Like if you stop somebody and you said, hey, let's just say, for example, I'm not saying you're carrying a pound of weed, but let's say they're carrying a pound of weed,
Yeah.
and you're like, hey, anything in the car? Can I take a look? And they're like, no, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna go home, meet me tomorrow, and then you can come look in the car. You think that pound of weed would still be in the car?
I can tell you I don't have a pound of weed in this car.
No, I know. I was using that as an example. I know you don't have a
Gotcha,
pound of weed.
yeah.
Or, I mean, I don't know that, but I assume you
No,
don't.
not today, I
It's
don't, no.
safe to say you don't. But you know what I mean?
What's that?
Probably
Oh, yeah.
that next day, that citizen wouldn't have the pound of weed in the car anymore.
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that would give you an opportunity. If there is anything, that would give you the opportunity to clear it out before you allow me to look.
Absolutely. No,
Would you, if a citizen said that though, would you be okay with that? Would you be like, all right, yeah, I'll show up tomorrow and check it?
Well, if I had probable cause to search the
Probable
vehicle,
cause,
I would,
right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were
right
just...
now, we're just a consensual
Yeah,
encounter.
yeah, I don't have any
I
probable
was
cause.
nice to you.
I have
gave you
no
my
probable
name,
cause.
so-
Yeah, no, and I appreciate
and now
that.
It's raining, so
I do appreciate
I don't want
that.
you to get wet or your
Eh.
fancy camera there.
Yeah, it's all right. It's not too fancy. I got to go inside City Hall anyway, but I just saw you coming. But I figured, you sure? Ask one more time. Like I said, you've been free to go this whole time.
Oh, you ain't bothering me, buddy.
Not gonna-
You're good.
But you definitely don't want me to look inside, huh?
Well, I mean, you can look, but
Is there
it's about to rain something fierce, man.
Is there anything particular? I'll just look in plain view.
No.
Anything
Ain't
in particular
nothing.
you're worried about me seeing?
Nope.
No, nothing
I'm
at all.
good.
I'm getting
Now
for
you're
real
getting
wet,
wet.
man. Now it's starting to suck a little
Now I'm
bit.
gonna take my my opportunity to leave that.
Yeah, all right. What about that tent? Is the tent legal?
Yes,
It
it
looks
is
all right.
actually.
It looks all right. All right, man. Take care. I appreciate you. Let's see. Boy, that rain is loud. We need City Clerk 7130. We submitted the record request to Julia Hewitt at 7132, which is 386-626-7130 or 386-626-7132 for the Deputy City Clerk. She's the one that's releasing the things within public records that she's not supposed to release. We're gonna call her now, see if she'll answer, ask about a record request that she has not acknowledged for over 2 weeks. For you, it's 386-626-7132.
City Clerk's office.
Hi, yeah, I can barely hear you.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Is this Julia?
This is her.
Okay, I submitted a record request a couple of weeks ago and I hadn't gotten a response.
Which one was that?
That was the one, that was after I was here trying to talk to somebody, and it was your hire date and
Oh, I closed all of that out. It was all put in just FOIA, and it's been closed out and sent back to you at least last week.
to TwistedLuckMedia@gmail.com?
Huh?
Okay, yeah, I never got anything about it. Trying to make sure the city understood the statutes on the exemptions with the public records.
Yeah.
Did that get figured out
Yeah. No,
for the future?
it always has been. I mean,
Well, what my point was, under statute, it prior, current, or retired law enforcement.
yes, but you just have to submit written notice then.
Okay, so do you have that form?
Yeah, I mean, I can bring it out to you. You'll have to bring it back. We don't notarize. So I can bring it out, and you can get it notarized and bring it back, and then we can keep it on file. Yeah, and I sent it out to James Madison Audits as well.
You sent that form to James
I
Madison?
responded to all three of your requests.
Well, I don't go in his email, so I don't know. So
So yeah, give me a second, and I'll bring it out.
okay, thanks.
Hello.
Hey,
how are
how you doing? Good.
Good. You're looking for the forms to fill out?
These are the exemption forms?
Correct.
Yeah. And who are you?
I'm John. I work in the clerk's office.
Now, this guy was decent, but he's a terrible liar. And he's going to tell us that Julia is in a meeting. That's why she sent him out. I knew she was going to send somebody else out. She wasn't going to come face me. But the way he stumbles when pressed for details, or anytime I bring up that he says she's in a meeting, is funny. So we play with that a little bit. But he also proves to know more than this deputy city clerk, and has a bit more logic, it seems. She's probably going to wish she didn't send him out, because he's also going to let us know that the city, well, they've had a meeting amongst themselves and with the city attorney, and they've implemented change, educated themselves on the Florida statutes regarding record exemptions, and they created this new form which they didn't have before. And admitting they're wrong and you're right is something that government doesn't like to do.
office.
In the clerk's office, okay. So I just wanted to make sure, I was gonna ask her when she came out. So the
She
city's,
just emailed. She was in a meeting, or else she would have came out.
oh, she answered her phone in a meeting?
She just, briefly, got back to it and then sent me an email.
Don't lie to me.
She wasn't in a meeting. She didn't want to come out and see me.
No, I just got an email and I assumed, I have no idea.
I don't cover for her though. She's not in a meeting.
No, I understand.
No, I already know that. You could just say she don't want to come out. I had a feeling she was going to send somebody else out.
Oh, no problem.
But I don't know if you can answer the question I was going to ask her. She had told me before that they only exempt prior law enforcement from public records if they're prior DeLand law enforcement, nobody else. Hi, I was just trying to find out. I had sent an email, but I'm trying to find out some of my personal information got released in a public record.
I am not obligated to answer any questions. If you'd like to ask for a new request, I can provide you that.
No. I mean, no, it wasn't a new request. It was someone else requested a public record.
Yeah, I understand.
That contained my exempt personal information.
You're not one of our employees,
No.
so therefore we only exempt our employees.
Oh, so former law enforcement,
If you're one of ours, then we would exempt it.
you realize that's not how that works, right?
Like I said, if you...
Who am I speaking to?
The deputy clerk.
Does the deputy clerk have a name?
Yeah, it's Julia.
Julia, okay. So you're saying that you're only required to redact your own law enforcement's information?
Yes.
That's your interpretation of those exemptions? Mm-hmm. So anybody else, any other former law enforcement, if you have records on any other former law enforcement, or current law enforcement, I guess, even though they're not yours, you would release their...
How would we know you? How would I know you're a former law enforcement?
This city is completely well aware that I'm former law enforcement. 100%.
I'm not aware of that.
It's not. Everybody knows it, and everybody I've spoken with assumes this was intentional. So you're the one I sent the email to. I came here because I didn't get any response to my email.
Yep, because it was not a public records request. Therefore, I'm not going to respond back to you.
So when there's an issue with a record request, what happens? You just can't speak to anybody about it, or?
I'm here to provide records, and that is it. I'm not here to answer questions. So if you do not have a request from me, then I'm going to hang up.
So who do I speak to about an issue with you then?
You can talk to the city manager.
Since you don't answer questions.
Yeah.
So if you sent me the wrong request and I said, hey, there's an issue with the request you sent me, you wouldn't answer the question. You just say I have to file a new request.
Yes.
Or are you being an ass just because it's me?
No,
or
I'm not.
and who interpreted the exemptions for law enforcement for you?
I mean, I've read the Florida statutes. I've talked to my city attorney, and if you would like to talk to the manager about a complaint, you're more than welcome to. So, like I said, if you have a request, I'm more than happy to fulfill that. Other than that, I'm not here to answer any more questions.
All right, but I just want to clarify. You
I'm
release
not clarifying anything.
you release law enforcement information unless they're DeLand law enforcement. Which that doesn't follow statute.
No, I think that should provide that way. Former law enforcement is exempt.
Right, it is under statute. Former, retired, or current law enforcement, certain personal information is exempt from public record. And the issue was it was being released. And when I contacted her before, she said they only exempt it if you're prior to land. And I tried to tell her that's not what the statute says.
Right.
And I called a few people, emailed a few people, trying to make sure they understand. Nobody got back with me. So now here today, she seems to understand that she was wrong. It's not just the land.
But it's any that provides the form, right? Because
provides the form. So my question was going to be if, let's see if
we
this...
wouldn't know it if not.
But in a case, in the event where they do know, this form hasn't been filled out, but they know the person is prior law enforcement, would they still release the information? Because typically I ask this of some other cities, local government, smaller cities. If someone hasn't filled out the exemption form, but you personally know that they are law enforcement or prior law enforcement, would you still release their personal information just because they haven't filled out this form? And they said, no, absolutely not. We would exempt it because they have the knowledge. Let's just say, for example, if you have my information here as a public record, would any of my information need to be redacted if it went out as a public record?
It would be.
It would be.
Because I know your past.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not, and that's under 119, but it's not, so it's not just Orange City police officers.
No, it's the whole state.
It would,
yeah.
any law enforcement, as long as you have the knowledge that they are law enforcement. That was my point.
Sure, yeah. I mean, if I had the knowledge, I wouldn't release it without prior authorization.
Right, and that was my point, because so you wouldn't release it if you had the knowledge, but they didn't have this, you wouldn't release it.
It's hard for me to say. I don't know the exact thing. I've never really personally dealt with this on this level with the form, but you'd probably have to talk to our attorney, Darren. But I wouldn't, with knowledge of knowing you were a police officer or former. No, of course not without authorization.
And so
I guess if I'm saying that right.
Yeah. So I think what you're saying is, if you had the knowledge, but there was not this form, you still wouldn't release it.
I would know.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And that was my point. That was the issue I brought up, because they were releasing my information, and I came and they initially told me that's because I'm not Deland. I wasn't Deland law enforcement, and I tried to explain that to them, and they said nope, we own. And I asked directly. I said, so if law enforcement from anywhere else that is not Deland, and you know that they're law enforcement, you will release their private information? She said yes. And I tried to, people got, they get a little butthurt. I said, that's not what the statute says. You got to look over the statute.
Right.
And they took some offense to that, I think. I was just trying to, if they don't know, I'm trying to educate them.
Sure, absolutely.
I called and left a message with Darren about it that day too, because no one would talk to me. No one would answer emails. So I called Darren, let him know, hey, they don't want to talk to me, but they need to have this information, because if what Julia told me is how they're conducting things, that's not by statute. They can't do that.
I don't know the exact situation,
Right, yeah.
You're saying, so it's hard for me to.
So what you say, your answer, that's correct. That's absolutely right. If you have the knowledge, no, you shouldn't do that. And that was my point, and it was being released anyway. Now, when I asked her today, it seems like they've had a discussion or something. They figured something out, and then she told me about this form. But my issue was, of course, I had not filled out this form.
Right.
I hadn't, because it's common knowledge here of my status. I mean, everybody in the police department, and I've dealt a lot with the police department administration, as well as the city clerk and the deputy clerk and things like that. So I wouldn't think this would be required. I'm going to do it now, but I wouldn't think this would be required, because everybody knows. Everybody knows who I am, what I do, what I did do. It's no secret around here. So I was surprised when I saw. I'll be honest with you, when I saw that, along with some other things that had taken place over the past year, I felt like it was an intentional thing, a little jab,
Right.
And that's what I asked. I said, hey, was this intentional? Are you trying to do that just because you can? Mm-hmm. And the problem is, nobody ever gets back to me. Like Julia, she told me she doesn't answer questions. She only takes record requests. Well, so how can we sort this out if you don't answer questions?
Right. I guess I guess we provide it, but we don't have to per se explain it, especially if knowledge is not like.
Right. Yeah. And so my question was, why did you release my personal information?
Right, okay.
And I'm not going to answer. I don't answer questions. What do you mean you don't answer questions? Come on. I'm trying to figure this out so we can make sure it doesn't happen anymore.
Absolutely.
Not just to myself, but anybody else.
I'm not the most familiar, but what you're saying, with the police, I guess more familiar. I think I've met you once before I've come out.
Probably, yeah.
But as far as I remember, we haven't had like a formal thing until recently, so that's why
So this is probably a result of my communication last time then. So, and that's,
never had to deal with that statute.
I think it's, I don't know if it's a pride thing or ego thing or something like that. People don't like to be educated by someone a citizen or something like that.
Right.
And if they didn't know about this is potential liability for the city. So me doing what I did essentially helps them, and we learned something. The city learned something, and they grew from it. So I'm not.
Absolutely.
I don't come in here to try to be a jerk.
No, you're fine.
That's not my goal. I try to. Anytime I'm in here, it's for a specific reason.
Absolutely. That way,
yeah, and that my point was, like I said, they had the knowledge. So, you know, but it's easy for them to say, "Oh no, we didn't." You know, I know that they did, but
for sure,
prove it. How would I prove it? Without this, I can't prove it. I knew they knew,
true, yeah,
but I can't prove it. So,
so
okay, man. Well, I appreciate you.
No problem.
I figured she wasn't. What type of meeting is she in?
They have our software, our just FOIA, the actual public records system. That we've had a lot of meetings trying to get it all organized with all the different departments. That way, the public records hopefully will go smoother.
Yeah, that's what she. That's
in time and everything.
That's the type of meeting she's doing right now.
It's with. I haven't talked to her really since.
You just digging me.
She's kind of it off.
I know she's not
doing some, but I think she's been with the public records this afternoon. So.
Yeah, I mean, but she's really not in a meeting, right?
No, that's what I know. And I was at my desk doing whatever,
and then someone said, "Tell him I'm in a meeting."
Yeah, this is on the printer or whatever.
Right. I think it's just funny because I knew after she said, "Oh, I'll bring it out to you." I said, "She's not going to bring it out to me. She's going to send somebody else out to me." So that's what she told.
That, not just to you, but she's done a few other times.
So she said, "Bring this out. Tell them I'm in a meeting."
Or no,
essentially,
she emailed. Yeah, while I was at my desk. I mean, we're close by.
Right. Tell them I'm in a meeting. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming out, man.
No problem.
Let her know. I'm glad we learned from it, and that I hope her meeting goes well.
Absolutely.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Take care.
There you go.
Come here. Come here, boy. Hey, come here. Are you gonna get hit by a car? There's a better place to pee over here. Got a better place for you to pee on. Deland Police Department's right here. Don't waste that on a telephone pole. I assure you, the Deland Police Department is much more deserving of that urine.